తెలంగాణ అకాడమీ ఆఫ్ సైన్స్ సమావేశంలో మంత్రి కేటీఆర్ మాట్లాడుతున్నారు. లైవ్ ద్వారా చూద్దాం.
Eminent institutions which have really provided this country and the world great deal of inputs and great deal of amazing interventions with respect to science. But how much of it is actually known by the common man? How much of this research that happens in these eminent scientific institutions has had a commercial application? In a country like India, the reason why I say this is because in a country like India, unfortunately, science and scientific research still has a very elitist image. You might not like what I said. You may not be happy with what I'm saying. The fact is, the scientific research in this country, in our country, still has a tag which is extremely elitist and which is not identified by the common man of India. I'm not saying I'm talking as a common man, as a citizen here. I'm not saying we don't cherish your achievements. We do. When ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, sends 100 satellites in one go, we all take absolute pride. While we don't know what these 100 satellites are going to do, we all take a great deal of pride and we derive a great deal of pleasure that India is also making significant advancements in science and technology, in space technology. I'm sure whenever one of our scientists wins one of the big awards, we all take a great deal of pride and our chest swells with pride, but we really don't know what you won it for. The point I'm trying to make is, a country like India needs homegrown recipes with the kind of problems we have. A country like India needs you to focus on the problems at the ground level. When I was at DRDO and RCI last year, they told me something which was extremely heartening. They said for our soldiers who are working in Siachen to protect our country, to protect our homeland, we've been able to come out and discover a bacteria which helps, which helps them handle their sanitation better in such adverse conditions. So that is in my head, in my mind, as a layman, as an absolute layman, as a citizen of this country. That is science that is going to help my country, that is going to help me get some things done in the right manner. My appeal to all of you, see, we have certain challenges. For example, healthcare. Healthcare in India, in fact, not just in India, but also across the world. I've lived in the US for about 8 years. It's one of the most hotly debated subjects. I keep getting a lot of requests in social media. I'm very active in social media. I keep getting a lot of requests in social media asking for assistance, financial assistance, to provide quality healthcare through a private sector hospital. Now, a lot of times, my mind keeps darting back to the same question. We have Arogyashri, which you all know, a universal health coverage, which covers nearly 1,000 different kind of ailments. If you have a white ration card, which is for anybody who's below the poverty line, which I'm presuming none of you in this room have, we provide, Arogyashri coverage. But in spite of that, in spite of now Government of India talking about a scheme called Ayushman Bhava, a medical coverage, the Medicare in this country, the healthcare, is quite expensive for a common man, for an ordinary middle-class man in this country. Now, if you ask me, our brilliant minds, our brilliant scientific minds with their scientific temperament should possibly work on lowering the healthcare costs in India. Medical devices that we import. More than 70% of the med devices that are deployed in the corporate hospitals or even government hospitals in India today are imported from abroad. Now, why can't we work on solutions? Why can't we work on indigenous solutions which substantially will lower the cost of healthcare? So my request, again, without really offending any of your sensibilities, is that this elitist image of scientific institutions in India, because a lot of people do not know what goes inside the walls of IICT or CCMB. I would go to the extent of saying 95% of Hyderabad does not know what goes on inside. I know you throw open your doors every so often to the young children, to the children from schools, so that they can come experience, and I'm sure Telangana Academy of Sciences also is publishing journals in vernacular, so that dissemination of science is happening even at a primary school and upper primary school level. All of this is good work. But I think at somewhere, if we can break that mental barrier, that science and scientific research in this country is not catering to the needs of the common man of this country, I think you would have really given this country a great deal of hope, and you would have also taken that leap of faith, which I think is much, much needed at this point in time for our generation at least, because a lot of us who have grown up and who are looking at this country and who travel the world as well typically end up lamenting all the time about countries like Japan, which have progressed by leaps and bounds in the last few decades. even after an explosion of a nuclear weapon on their soil, on their land. They've been able to catapult themselves into the top league, in spite of the natural handicap, in spite of not having natural resources, in spite of not having any natural resources. In fact, let me put it that way. Countries like South Korea have done exceptionally well and are one of the top economies in the world. In spite of their limitations with respect to size, in spite of their, countries in Europe have done well. In spite of their limitations with respect to language, China has done exceptionally well. So India, with all the ingredients of greatness, India with all of its amazing abilities to be able to break into the big league and to be able to actually drive this world, unfortunately has not been able to get its basics right. We as a government are taking pride, the state government of Telangana, that we are going to be providing.
తెలంగాణ అకాడమీ ఆఫ్ సైన్స్ సమావేశంలో మంత్రి కేటీఆర్ ప్రసంగాన్ని ఇప్పటివరకు లైవ్ ద్వారా చూసాం. ఇప్పుడు చిన్న బ్రేక్ తీసుకున్న బ్రేక్ తర్వాత మరిన్ని అప్డేట్స్లోకి వెళ్దాం. స్టే ట్యూన్డ్.